What's up guys, I'm Dunmere. I'm a rank 1 peak Supervive player and I have almost 1,000 hours played already. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys a Shiv guide for what I think are her best items, level up order, and powers, and just run through all the options that you have. Starting off, we're going to go into the equipment for Shiv. So Shiv is honestly one of the characters that has the lowest amount of build diversity that you can viably pick, and that's for two primary reasons. The first one is she really scales heavily off of damage and isn't really oriented around like the ability to tank or, you know, the ability to tank and be tanky, right? So she doesn't get any value really from running tankier items. So that's number one. The second reason is that her kit as a whole doesn't benefit from a couple of the different base stats you can get from the items. She doesn't get a huge amount of value from cooldown reduction, you know, other than it just being a really insane stat in general. She doesn't really need mana items that much, and so it kind of leaves you with like movement speed and vamp type items, right? And so with that, actually there's a third reason too, which is that the options that you have pretty clear, like really powerful items for her. So it's not like the items are bad, right? They're really good, and maybe that's the problem for why there isn't that much diversity. But this build at the top here, this turbo booster last stand build with boots on the side, those are really powerful. On Shiv, you're always going to be getting dashes constantly because you're constantly getting resets off of the you know, landing your empowered shot after the shift. And so the turbo booster gives you extra speed as you're dashing, and also you get 2 dashes while you're ulting, so it's giving you constant like just buffs to your movement speed, right? Which is just really powerful in this game. And since Shiv doesn't really slow herself down when she shoots, she's getting to take good advantage out of it, unlike other characters, right? So turbo booster really strong. And then last stand is a new item this patch that gives you an additional 40, or it increases your omnivamp, right? So it jumps the item's base omnivamp ability from 9% to 14%, and then gives you an additional 50% healing from every source until you're back up to 40%. I had to go like learn exactly how it worked. It works specifically that as soon as you hit 40% HP, any burst that gets you past that number, like it no longer doubles or no longer increases it by 50%, right? So if you're slowly healing yourself up and you reach 40%, then you lose it, right? You lose this extra 50% healing. But if you are at 39% and you get like a big burst that would normally give you 20% of your HP, it'll give you 30%, and so it'll jump you up to 69%. Nice. I did not do that on purpose. All right, having said that, in terms of the boots, I put Soul Drain because she does have the capability to stomp things pretty decently. But like I said, it's good. It's not insane. Doesn't really matter that much. The meditation boots aren't going to give her a lot of value. Maybe value for just standing around in between fights to get your mana up. So you could do that one instead. But you don't really need chain jump. The boots that will let you like access double high grounds by triple jumping like you're playing Mario. Those, you don't really need it because you have the ability to access high grounds with your dagger, like your teleportation dagger. So yeah, you just don't need it, right? In terms of different powers you can take or equipment you can take, you could potentially trade out Overdrive for Last Stand. I think Last Stand is better, just running the numbers, but if you want to be able to and expect to be able to like over health yourself as you're going into a fight, Overdrive lets you have your Omnivamp like heal you over 100%. That one might be an option. That could be something that's decent, but I just don't think it's as good as Last Stand. And then probably the only option I would really consider other than Overdrive is trading it for one of the Tech Blades. Like I said, the Tech Blades aren't incredibly useful for her, but the actual like secondary abilities is really strong, right? So Power User makes it so if you get it and then you have broken down 2 vaults, you won't lose your items, or you'll have a lower cooldown on your powers, and then you won't lose your powers when you die. And since Shiv gets a bunch of value from having like a Blink Stone or like a grappling hook or an invisibility cloak, something like that, or a Be Kind Rewind, like the exotic ones, that's like kind of insane for her character, right? So that one's considerably worth considering trading for the turbo booster. And then Amplifier is just an insane thing in general. However, there is one extra little fun thing. If you do find yourself running out of mana, go ahead and pop up a mana blade, or the bubble blade for the turbo booster, because that increases your healing that you do by 25%, or gives a 25% shield. So pop that on with Last Stand, or maybe even pop it on with Overdrive, and you'll actually be buffing your own Omni-Man. Not by much, but you know, if you need a mana item, right? Other than that, mostly things just aren't useful, or are pretty much useless, and you shouldn't even bother touching them. So getting into the level up order for Shiv, I always recommend starting off with your shift first, especially on this character. Some people will go for their strongest damage attack at level 1 because it lets them clear a camp faster, but I think it's a little bit risky in terms of not having your dash in case enemies drop on top of you also and you like didn't notice, or if you get into a habit and you pick the wrong one, and then you don't have the ability to dash around to fight, right, or to escape with. So I don't do that. But you know, do what you want, right? Having said that, the actual like level up order for Shiv is not the biggest deal, to be honest. She has a lot of like solid options. They don't do insane differences really. And so yeah, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell you like my reasoning for this one. So like I said, start off shift. Then you're gonna go for your stun ability, the chain bolus. That one's, or the slow / stun. That one's strong. You're gonna want that. And that's gonna let you have like most of your kit, right? And then you're gonna go ahead and go for dagger third. Your dagger isn't super useful earlier in fights, especially when you don't have the ability to like pop out a bunch of AoE damage, like you don't have your ult yet. So go ahead and pick that one third. And then go ahead and switch onto your shift level 4. Your shift is really powerful in this one because you get to buff damage at level 4, I believe. Just making sure that's, you know, quote me on that if I said it incorrectly, but yes, it does. I just verified. But that's going to give you an extra 40% damage, I believe the number is, and that's a big deal considering most of your damage is coming from that, like in a lot of fights. So go for that one. At level 5, you get the reason people play your character, which is your ultimate. The ultimate's super powerful, so definitely pick that at level 5. And then at level 6, you're going to want to go for the shift again. Up until this point, I'd say it was pretty set in stone. You know, I would consider potentially, if you're like in a really heavy fight and you get to level 3, like not going for your dagger and only like doing your shift twice with the bolus, the E ability, or I guess it's Q now. That would be an option, but in general, you know, whatever. But up until this point, up until level 5, it's pretty set in stone. The players I talked to about this, they also recommended going for a maxing level 3 on your shift. It gives you an extra 1.5 second cooldown, which is dropping that from like a 6 second to cooldown to a 4.5 second cooldown. You do get a dash reset if you land your primary fire shot when you dash with your shift. So this is, like I said, the options you're getting aren't insane. The options you get for leveling up your bolus to level 3 or the dagger just aren't insane. And so having the ability to make a mistake and then have your shift up relatively soon afterwards is probably pretty solid, right? Or also to just run away from enemies with is pretty valuable. So I would do that 6. From that point, I would recommend going on to level 7ing your chain bolus. At that point you get an additional stun time, I believe it is. It gives extra distance, and then it actually gives extra distance when you hit somebody with it, so it can like easily stun 2 people, and then you get a 4 second cooldown reduction on it. So that part's like kind of insane. And then at this point, I would recommend at level 8 increasing your ultimate to its next level. The ultimate gets extra damage, and since your character's kit's so built around that, I think it's good. But really, I think the level 2 for the far step dagger is not insane. It just makes it so if you hit some sort of obstacle with it, you get a 25% reduction in the cooldown. So that's like, you know, while other unlocks are like, yep, here's your base 25% reduction anyway, this one's like you have to do something to get it. Granted, you can hit people with it for a 50% cooldown reduction, which is good, but it's just not insane, right? So I would recommend putting that one off until last. So Shiv is a pretty powerful character, but she's also kind of one-dimensional. However, that one dimension that she has is extremely powerful, right? So a lot of the powers you're looking for on Shiv are ones that are going to help you min-max that. And I'm just going to go off and, say it. Having a blink stone on Shiv or having this recall power, the rewind power, are just ridiculous on the character. With a close second being, close tier below that being this armor shredder exotic. So while these are exotic powers, it's like, and I'm telling you, oh, go look for these exotics, and it's hard. But on Shiv, you should be like looking for them even more than usual, right? Because she just gets so much value out of them. The ability to TP into the enemy team while your ultimate's up. They have no ability to react to it, and they have to stun you like after they're already getting damaged and destroyed. While you have 2 dashes to dash away from them with, is just kind of insane, right? Same thing with the rewind. You can just TP in the enemy team and then use that, get out afterwards. No, like the blink zone is better than rewind because you still have to predictably TP into the enemy team with the recall, but and you could die in that process maybe. But you definitely want to be playing for these, right? So you want to be trying to get early kills in the game, getting the red keys, and then the PvP keys, this is called a Slayer key or whatever. Now, you want to get that key from killing an enemy and go find it on the map and try and get these powers, right? So, with that caveat aside, the rest of her powers generally come from an order of looking for movement-based powers, or things that are going to sustain her mid-fight. Sorry, instead of movement, it's really more like powers that are going to help her bypass her predictability with her long-range movement, or powers that help her sustain herself in the middle of the fight, or ones that just have like a unique niche little interaction, right? So, having said that, the way that this tier list I've put up here is essentially that you're going to want to cycle through these powers as you play the game. So if you're playing through the game and you're, the randomness of the BR, you can't guarantee things. As you find things, you're going to want to like kind of have this tier list in your head, and you're going to want to replace your powers as you go up, right? So you start off with the 2 purple ones in the bottom, and you found those, great. Well, you find another vault, and then you get this delicate barrier, the shield with the axe on it. Then you drop off maybe your health packs for that one, right? Because you're trading a sustained power for a better sustained power, etc. So having like Shiv's movement is really predictable, right? She has the ability to like TP onto people and like with her dagger, right? But she's easy to get stunned out of it. So having something like these glider engines down here in the bottom right, those ones are going to help you be able to cover up some distance that maybe you pop it as you're going into the fight, and you can just use 1 dash to get close to people instead of having to TP, and then you use your TP to get out, or you put your teleport dagger on the wall first before you go in, and then you glider engines in, so that you can take it out to escape, right? That is like what that unlocks, right? And if you don't have something like this, or the grappling hook, which is a better version, or the blink dagger, which is the even best version, it's going to be hard to be able to teleport dagger out. You're going to have to like walk up close first, or try and shift in towards the enemy, which is like, it's just not that viable, and it gets you're gonna have to like walk forward into the enemy instead of being able to flank them, right? So looking for these kind of movement powers that are gonna be able to completely bypass the ability or the need for you to even flank, or be limited in how you can approach a fight, and the timing you can approach a fight, right? Because if you don't have something like this, you might have to wait until later in the fight, until like things are getting kind of hectic. But if you have a grappling hook, you can just walk up, grapple someone, jump into them, pop your ultimate, like it's going to fling you into the enemy. You can throw your pain bolas, your stun, and try and hit people with that, etc. Right? So these are the difference for having that versus not having it. So you definitely want to look for these. In terms of sustained powers, or another set of powers that let you bypass your like distance, your rapid moving distance problem, is Brushwhacker. This brown face in the bottom left, above the other face. That one is going to help you get some invisibility and movement speed going through brush. Brush isn't everywhere, so it's like solid, but it'll let you like push up on enemies in areas that there is this stuff, maybe catch them by surprise. And then you have Stealth Cloak, which is just a better version of that, right? Let you just stealth up onto people, walk up on them, pop your ult, etc. Not the absolute insane, most powerful set of powers for her, because other ones are just objectively more powerful. And her invisibility like Like, because she doesn't have a raw stun, she isn't like Kingpin that gets insane value from invisibility, that could just walk up and just blow up anyone he wants to. You just get similar value that you can just get your ultimate on top of people, right? So those are also powerful for you to look for. And then you have things like sustained base powers, so having health packs to sustain yourself on an off angle when you've like flanked, or maybe mid-fight, having the sand wall that blocks some damage when you're ulting on top of people or damaging people, like, or, you know, fighting 1v1 on somebody, or having this combo of this green vine and then the berry eater. Having those will help you sustain and get a bunch of HP as you're fighting people, and just like non-stop tick up HP regen while you're fighting people on top of the vamp that you already have. And I forgot to put it in here, but the bloodstone power is also really good too. It's like in the strong category also. It will double your, or it'll increase your vamp, I believe I believe it doubles it. And so that's really, really useful, especially if you wait until you're in the 40% HP overdrive section, when your overdrive is activating, or sorry, your last stand is activating. That's really, really powerful too. However, there are a few other ones that are just kind of unique, where you have like these tree-based powers, the money tree grenades, and then this tree prison, that are in the yellow dash category. Those ones are really useful for the ability of your chain bullets going through them, and hitting somebody, causing it to stun, right? Because normally you have to hit 2 people, but with this, if you hit a tree and then a person, it stuns them. So you can walk up, pop the tree in front of their face, or catch them in the tree prison, and then you can stun them with the actual, you know, with your ability, right? So it gives you like a separate option you can go for. Again, not as powerful as some of these other things, not like just objective raw power, but picking up early game will win you a fight around like level 4, level 5 sometimes. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you have any questions or have anything to say, go ahead and throw them into the comments below, or come follow me on my Twitch and my YouTube when I'm streaming, and go ask them there.